Pioneers for Christ is a ministry alongside the church ministering with children and youth, mostly Korean Americans in the metropolitan Philadelphia area, to make Christ known by sharing his gospel. Pioneers for Christ was founded by Reverend John Kim, who was saved as a child in Korea by an American soldier who shared the gospel with him, came to America to study. While studying at Oral Roberts University, he felt the call of God by the American Missionary Fellowship to be a commissioned missionary in the Philadelphia area. Pioneers for Christ was founded by Reverend John Kim in 1967 under the auspices of the American Missionary Fellowship. For over 150 years, AMF was formerly known as the American Sunday School Union. Under that name, missionaries pioneered the establishment of Sunday schools which taught the Bible and brought God's plan of salvation to the country's growing frontiers. In fact, the ASSU started over 120,000 new Sunday schools in its first 100 years, many of which continue today as churches. Prominent leaders of America were also involved in AMF's leadership, including Dr. Benjamin Rush, a prominent Philadelphia physician and signer of the Declaration of Independence, Francis Scott Key, and Daniel Webster, along with hundreds of missionaries. In 1923, American Sunday School Union pioneered the Daily Vacation Bible School, which began in Minnesota. The Union also held one of the first Bible camps for young people in the early 1900s. Thus began a new phase of ministry for the American Sunday School Union. Bible camps, vacation Bible schools, home Bible studies, and retreats soon became very popular ministries. PSC was started as an outreach to youth in Philadelphia. Reverend John Kim reached out to youth of many races. Pioneers for Christ first began its camp ministry in 1968 in a nearby camp in Quakertown, but not Camp Meadowland. In 1969, they moved to the Camp Meadowland location. Due to an influx of Korean immigrants beginning from 1968, Reverend Kim adjusted his ministry to meet the many needs of the Korean immigrant family, especially the youth. In the 1980s and early 90s, PSC had a year-round ministry to youth in Philadelphia for quite some time, until a few years ago, including a monthly meeting that drew many of the Korean Americans of those generation. Some of us are the products of those decades. Captain Brian Kim was one of the earlier directors. Reverend Joe McAviney, David Yoon, Fuji Kim's older brother Chang Young Kim at one point was the director of PFC, Kwang Ho Lee Chondosanim. All along, PSC was administered by Reverend John Kim until 2001, who had already retired from AMF and church pastorate, when Reverend Kim officially bequeathed PFC and his camp ministry to the Genesis, referred to the Genesis Affirmation. Genesis currently administers PFC and its camp ministry. In 2004, we celebrate our 37th year as a ministry, 36 years of camp, and 35 years at Camp Meadowland.